A talk show that cuts to the truth, no matter how painful it might be, and no BS. Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith.
Here's a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the dogs, the filth. Here is someone who stood up.
It's time for Citizen Smith.
Good morning on this Tuesday, September 28th, as we wrap up the first month of fall. Actually, it's been a couple weeks now, right? Fall weather.
I think, what was the 22nd was the fall equinox?
Officially. Little rain yesterday. I tried to walk through it and I got drenched. My shoes were filled with water. The water was flowing like a river down the sides of streets. It was a record rainfall of 1.80 inches in downtown Portland yesterday. A record.
Yesterday?
Yep.
Wow.
The downpour beat the previous record of 1.45 inches set in 1955. Caused flooding on the roadways. Sewage overflows. Oof, that's disgusting. They were saying don't walk around the Willamette River area. I thought there was a lot of rain, but I didn't think it was a record rainfall.
It was a record.
They said the sewage overflow in the Willamette River in late afternoon. Sewage overflow, which is about 80% storm water and 20% sewage, came from a maintenance hole at South Macadam Avenue.
Macadam
Avenue and Sweeney Street, according to the Portland Bureau of Environmental Services. Well, didn't think there was that much rain. I knew it was coming down heavy. Another example of climate change.
I knew it was coming.
I was wondering how the wildfires
We
fared.
bitch when there's not enough rain. We bitch when there's too much, right?
Yeah, weather is just never
going to be good.
Never good. Oregon wildfires, right? I was wondering, okay, so we got this rain. Did it put out the fires? Had to do something.
I'm sure it helped.
We're getting more rain tonight. So hopefully the more the rain, the less the wildfires, and the better off we'll all be in the end. So I'll take the rain.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about homicides and murders, both in the Rose City and the United States. Sobering numbers. Homicides in the U.S. rose nearly 30% in 2020 from the previous year of 21,570, the largest single-year increase ever recorded by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The rate of 6.5 homicides per 100,000 residents is the highest since 1997, but below the historic highs of the early 90s. What was going on in the early 90s that was so bad? I can't remember, but it's not good when you see nearly 30% rise, uptick in homicides in 1 year. We're a violent society. There's no way around it. Some researchers are blaming the frayed relations between law enforcement and Black communities after the high-profile police killings like Mr. Floyd in Minneapolis. And the stress from COVID-19 pandemic, temporary shutdown of the court systems, all leading to increased shootings and homicides, murders in the U.S. Guns and more guns. But it's our right to hold a gun in our hand. And I was reading women are getting more guns. So it's bad enough us men are walking around with weapons. Now the women got them. I got to believe the women will exercise a little bit of caution with using them than aggressive males. Our instinct is more combative.
We should try to get Shannon Monahan on the show. She runs Red Frog Tactical, who helps train women to use firearms. Let me see if I can get her.
Okay. What do you think about women increasing their use of handguns and weaponry. So we're weaponizing women. We're weaponizing men already. So we're going to be even more gun-toting human beings and citizens of America. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't buy a gun. You know why? I might use it. I'd rather talk my way out of a situation or play defensive or just get out of the situation entirely. If I have a gun, I might say, you know what? I've had maybe a bad day, bad decision. This guy's coming after me. I'm not going to try to talk my way out of it or just fight. My father used to work in the worst sections of the city of Boston in the home improvement industry. Never carried a gun. All sorts of situations he found himself in. I said, Dad, why don't you ever carry a gun? Because I'd use it.
Feel free to call in, though, 503-744-7022. Got to remind people, they can call in.
Yes, we are live, both for chatting and calling. This is a call-in talk show. So Portland is on track to break a record of gun violence. I was wondering about the numbers. I'm utilizing the Fox 12 article here. And in 1987, it is said that a record year of homicides was 70 in 1987. A violent city, Portland, back in 87. Right now we have 67. Well, actually, let's correct that. They say in this article, 63 homicides, not including officer-involved shootings. Of those, 47 were shooting deaths. And one of the things I was reading is a lot of the shooting deaths, they haven't been able to convict or find out who did the shooting. So they're getting away with murder. Think about that. Hey, I just killed somebody. Nobody caught me. What does that send to the rest of the potential shooters out there? You can get away with it in Portland. That's a bad thing. Like to see like a 90% conviction rate, but they're doing these shootings with no police around, no witnesses, or if they have witnesses, nobody's certainly coming forward. You usually think murder, right? They're on top of it. They always get their man. Not in Portland right now. Sorry to say. This one police officer, Lieutenant Ken Duilio, I hope that's the pronunciation, but he said, quote, "This is the most violent time in my career. This is the highest level of gun violence I've seen." And he's worked with the Bureau for 24 years. It's not going to stop overnight, he said. That's for sure. So we've got 3 more months left in the year. We'll see if we break the record of 70 homicides in 1987. We're a violent city in Portland in many sections.
Let's go for the record, right? Jeez.
When are we ever going to get our... When is America ever going to become like a peaceful, safe haven of rather than a violent country? We've had violence since the Revolutionary War.
Just watch television. They're full of violence. Full of it.
Everything on TV is about shooting, murder, violence. The TV series, we love it. We crave it.
Video games. Video games
are all about shooting people.
And jacking cars, you play Grand Theft Auto. Come on.
Tell me that doesn't have an influence.
Moms and dads know what your kids are playing.
Representative of our society. It's a huge problem. People just want to overlook or just ignore entirely. I wouldn't let my kid play any of those games.
Yeah, you don't want your kids playing that stuff until they're old enough to understand that it's just make believe, and that's not how life is.
Same with the driving, right?
Yeah.
They drive like crazy people in those videos, and then they drive like crazy people in the real world. Hey, it's just like the video games. If I really got a car, tell me that doesn't go on.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't have any faith in our society anymore and getting things better. It just seems like we can't live in harmony. We can't live peacefully. I lived in China, and I know they're a dictatorial system, authoritarian. Nobody carries guns. I felt so much safer in China than I do in America. When I walk the streets, nobody's going to shoot you. Violence, you're in population like in Beijing, 26 million people. You hardly ever heard or saw policemen. People just abide by the law because, first of all, they know if they get caught, they're going to go to jail.
Yeah.
They don't have any lawyers that are going to fight for their freedom.
Ain't no due process. Ain't none of that.
But at the same time, they don't have guns. I mean, if China allowed the kind of guns we have here that anybody could own one, it would be a violent country.
Yeah.
They have 1.4 billion people. They're more than 4 times the size of American population. If they had guns, they'd have 4 times the violence. Maybe there's a certain level in a population, in the density of society and the way we live, you can't let people have weapons. They do carry other types of weapons, wooden sticks and knives and things like that. So they have other ways of settling disputes.
Yeah.
But they don't shoot each other for the most part.
No.
And you don't see, the police don't carry guns. I didn't see any with guns.
Well, I think the difference is you just disappear in the middle of the night. They just come get you, take you away.
Yeah, they'll know where you are.
Yeah.
You can try, but we got cameras everywhere. You're not going to get away with it.
Nope.
So there is that deterrent. So you give up your freedoms for safety. How much freedoms are we willing to give up for a safer environment? We're never giving up our guns, so we've pretty much said guns first, safety second. Or should I say violence and guns first? No guns, less violence second.
Okay. Do you want to play what? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
Hey, welcome to America.
Hey, welcome. I could help myself.
That's good. Thank you. That was excellent. All right, let's talk a little bit about R. Kelly. Another one bites the dust, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
But this was a big boy going down in the Me Too movement.
Well, he's been bad for a while, hasn't he?
They said this has been going on since the early 90s.
Yeah.
Sexual abuse of women.
He's a dirtbag. I don't even know if it's worthy of this song. I think he's a 100% dirtbag.
R&B superstar R. Kelly, guilty of leading a racketeering enterprise.
On top of
all
kinds of sexual
8 counts related
deviations.
to coercing and transporting women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activity, and 1 count of racketeering, which encompassed a series of acts of bribery, sexual exploitation of a child, and forced labor. He's facing 10 years to life. The verdict will be handed down May 4th. He will be appealing, of course.
Of course. All I know is that music money's going to have to run out at some point.
So this, from the U.S. Attorney Jacqueline Kasoulas, said that Mr. Kelly used his inner circle to ensnare underage women, quote, in a sordid web of sex abuse, exploitation, and humiliation. Quote, today's guilty verdict forever brands R. Kelly as a predator, she said during a news conference following the conviction.
Him and Epstein, those 2 guys, terrible.
How do people fall into such a dark, evil state? When you've got everything going for you, money,
They think they can do whatever they want. They think they can do whatever they want.
Not anymore.
Good.
The jury heard from more than 50 witnesses. 5 of the 6 women identified as victims, and the indictment testified at the trial. The prosecutor said Mr. Kelly was 27 years old when he sexually abused singer Aaliyah, orchestrated a bribe in 1994 for fraudulent identification documents to marry the young singer who was then 15 years old. So this has been going on since like 1994, at least Took over 20 years to get this guy. Well, hopefully we're moving in the right direction of we're not going to be a safer country, but at least we can protect women who are exploited, sexual misconduct. At least that is moving forward in a better society, right? When learning to behave as men, interacting with women better, that took us about 100 to 200 years. I figure American society, with all its sophistication and freedoms and money and opportunity, would have developed better over the decades. But it's the individuals that we can't seem to make a better human being out of. Why are human beings so prone to evil, to doing bad things, to fighting each other, to violence? Why can't we live more peacefully and respectfully? What is wrong with us? We're smart. We have good brains for the most part to use and develop. Can we evolve as a peaceful, respectful species that operates from a position of ethical and moral boundaries and dignity? Why are we so fucked up? The older I get in life, the more I see I'm like, we just can't seem to evolve into a better human being. I think we all should have psychotherapists, at least guiding us through life. Maybe we don't use enough therapy. Should be mandatory. Everybody's mandated to see a therapist as they develop through life because we can't handle and cope with the issues we face every day. Stress overwhelms us, creates problems, distorts our views. We're mental cases. We need help.
I wonder why it's so stressful now than like the 50s. You know, with the 50s.
How do you know it's
stressful?
more?
I'm just saying,
The
we're the-
50s, we just didn't document it as well.
Okay, yeah, we not everybody had a phone in their hand. You know?
Yeah, and people weren't
Maybe that has something
people
to
weren't
do
as
with it.
transparent.
Maybe that has something to do with it.
Shit, we were still coming out of wars with violent people coming out of wars, not knowing how to deal with society. We had Korean veterans. We had World War II veterans. We just didn't document the trauma and the effects those wars had on the mental illness that developed and violence. We're still a violent damn society. How organized crime has been a huge part of American society for decades and hundreds of years. You can go back to probably since the founding fathers, organized crime in its own way.
I just think that the 24-hour news cycle and being able to communicate at all times of the day and everything, I think it's just too much for our brains to really handle, I think.
I don't even have a TV in my apartment. I never will have one ever. I started that in China, and I realized, you know what? I'm much more at ease. I'm much more comfortable. Much more mellow. I can meditate a little bit. I listen to music, and my brain has a relaxation mode. But when I put the TV on, and I'm not saying I don't love TV, because I do, but I don't watch all the violent programs. I never, ever watch crime and violent shows. Ever. Except for Breaking Bad. But otherwise, I don't work. I do not watch the network shows. I look for maybe some sports. I like the Discovery Channel, things like that. I go to Netflix and watch a lot of documentaries. It's not to say I don't love a good John Wick movie.
I've been binge watching Sopranos, getting ready for Friday.
Yeah. Oh, is the movie coming out then?
Friday,
The Saints
October
of Newark?
1st. October 1st.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Now again,
The
that's
mini
violent.
Saints of Newark.
I watch a little bit when it comes. It's not like I don't like a good movie with some violence
Mobsters,
at
baby.
times, but I don't do it on TV. I limit it to my film viewing. I'll leave it at that. Try going without a TV in your apartment. You'll read a book more, which is very healthy for the mind and quite entertaining.
I'm going to jump to my 22-year-old self. What's a book? Can I get that on my phone?
Reading is a wonderful outlet for fulfilling your creative needs, your entertainment. And it just opens up a whole nother realm of your intellect and way to observe the world. And I just think reading is I'm not reading enough, don't get me wrong, but I got a bunch of good books I bought at Powell and I can't wait. Love going into that bookstore and exploring the world of literature. We have the greatest bookstore in America in Powell's Books. I highly recommend everybody go over there and buy a book. Read it, go buy another one. Because you engage with other people there, you're looking at all these wonderful books that you might not have discovered and said, hey, that one looks good. My mother just told me she was reading a book from the library. I couldn't believe it. My mom's usually a okay reader, and she just was going on and on about this book, a slave of one's own.
Can I get that on my Kindle?
And it's about these memoirs or autobiographical story of these slaves that survived. And she was just going on and on about it. I was so happy to hear my mom was reading and not watching TV, because she does a lot of that, when she's alone. And I didn't want her to get too caught up in too much TV, because it's not good for the brain as you get older, So she got this book. I was going to go look for it at the bookstore in my neighborhood too. I've got a great little used bookstore across the street that has all sorts of books you won't find in Powell, for example, because they strive for out of print books and things like that. And I was going to go look up this book since she was going on and on about A Slave No More. That's what she was reading, by David Blight. Slave narratives are extremely rare, with only 55 post-Civil War narratives surviving. A mere handful are first-person accounts by slaves who ran away and freed themselves. Now, 2 newly uncovered narratives join that exclusive group. This is from books.google.com. Through a combination of intelligence, daring, and sheer luck, the men reached protection from occupying Union troops. So historian Blight prefaces the narratives with each man's life's history. A slave no more. 2 men who escaped to freedom, including their own narratives of emancipation. My mom's reading this. Found it at the library. Good for her. I'll be reading it too. Sounds like a fast. Like I said, there isn't that many out there that have a narrative from the slaves themselves that have been documented. So they wrote down their experiences. It's a whole world that we're still discovering. We always see slavery and books and movies from the point of view of the white person, right? Never really from the actual narrative and first person point of view of the slave that's accurate and historical. I know I'm covering a lot of stuff here. That's what I like to do, though. Mix it up. All right. And with that said, I wanted to just talk a little bit about the Facebook initiative to try to get young tweens, as they call it, to use Instagram. And they're backing off for a little bit. They're suspending their plan for children's Instagrams. An Instagram specifically targeting 13-year-olds and under.
That's weird.
Well, they say they're already using Instagram by the adults.
Yeah.
That platform.
Most of those kids are using like Snapchat, TikTok.
Parents are concerned. Yes, they're using those. Parents are concerned that especially teenage girls with body image concerns are going to be the most susceptible to mental anguish and trauma, or the ill effects of digital communication through a social platform strictly for teens. However, Facebook says, look, if they're doing it anyway, let's do it responsibly. And there's some validity to that. If they're going to find their way onto it anyway, should you have one that the parents can monitor better, that the children can use? Or should we be working to move them away from phones and videos and digital social platforms?
I feel the latter, but it's still going to be a part. Maybe reduce it. You know, you're not going to be able to stop it completely.
So where do you stand? You know, you're really tied into this digital world.
I think it's like I said, I think weaning kids off of it is a
So don't have an Instagram for children.
No, I don't.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. Bad idea.
Facebook executives say that because children already find ways to skirt the app's age restrictions, that being the adult Instagram, it would be better for them to use a version with stronger safety controls.
Or maybe just have their parents care and do their job.
Google's YouTube, TikTok, as you mentioned, are already versions out there designed for children under 13. Did you know that?
Yes.
I guess there's no escaping it. Maybe we just got to meet the devil in the room and control the situation so that parents of kids can keep an eye on things better. You're not going to stop them. It's not a good thing, but we're not going to stop it in this world of the digital age. But the Instagrams, they were saying, they can find themselves into pornography. The Wall Street Journal did an investigative story on it. And they found kids, they pretended they were kids, and they found their way into pornography by keywords going in. And then it could be like that. They're on a page for adults and sexual images. I really think that kids are being subjected to too many violent images and too many sexual images at a young age. And I think it's a serious, serious problem. Their young minds can evolve so badly if they're pointed in the wrong direction. If I was a parent, I never had children, I would not allow them to even be on a social platform. I would just ban it. And I would make sure that we have a reading session together, parent and child. And then we'd talk about it. Then we'd invite the friends over and we'd have a little reading club. Then we'd have a writing club and an art club. And I would just form these little clubs within their circles, and I would get together with the other parents, and I would be working with them to be involved directly with overseeing these creative outlets and social outlets face-to-face to children. I think the parents have to take more of a leading role than they are. They're using digital platforms as a lazy out to not have to take initiatives like I just described. I know it's challenging, and I wouldn't say it's easy. You have to be proactive as a parent to do so. I think parents need to be more proactive with their children in this day and age than ever before. Too many homes are broken, one-parent family. They don't have the time. They're working jobs. Single mom, at work. Where's the kid going? On the video, digital platforms. Babysitting themselves. I'm lecturing a little bit, but I see it as a serious, serious social problem. And we question sometimes, why are these kids acting this way? Why are they misbehaving? What's wrong with their attention span? It's quite obvious. We're just not paying attention enough to address the problem.
Yeah. If you're the mom that puts a tablet into your 3-year-old's hands because you need them to be quiet, something's fucked up.
Well, we as a society have to address all these issues. The mind of a child is so malleable and needs to be caressed. It needs to be slowly developed patiently with good things to think about and learn. I would get them into a learning program for learning another language. They can so easily learn Spanish or even Chinese at 5 and 6 years of age. Believe me, I taught the Chinese kids that age English, and they absorb it like you can't believe. I would have every kid in a second language program in this country. Even a little bit introduction. They'd love it. Suddenly they're speaking 2 languages. Why not? That's a whole lot better than being on Instagram looking at pictures of what the latest kids are wearing and why they're thin and I'm not. That's my lecture for today. Thank you for joining me. We covered a lot. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You've been listening to Citizen Smith. here at TalkCast, PDX.com, your digital portal for Portland.